Amanda's typical of Generation Y. She still lives at home, has no bills to pay. She earns $35,000 a year and happily blows every cent.
I get told off by old ladies about, you're spending too much money. I mean, that's my concern, not anyone else's concern. It's my bill, it's my debt, I'll deal with it. And if I can't afford it, I'll just, go bankrupt.
This is like rage bait for boomers. She lives at home, she doesn't pay bills, and she doesn't listen to her elders. These dumb millennials don't know what they're doing. Gen Y are millennials, by the way. But let me ask, who raised the millennial generation? That's not to say that her statement about bankruptcy wasn't incredibly stupid, though. Imagine pretending that you're shouldering responsibility by saying that you'll deal with it, and then immediately after, saying that you'll just file for bankruptcy, which means someone else will have to pay for your luxury spending.
How much do you spend a week on your credit card?
Oh, $1,500?
And you don't blink at that?
Not at all. Nothing.
It's a lot of money.
It's all right. It's happiness.
Let me take a second to translate here. It's 1,500 Australian dollars, which are worth a lot less than American dollars, so it's about $1,000 USD. However, this 60 Minutes special was done in 2008, which is why the millennials are the source of all the world's problems. So in today's dollars, that's around $1,429, which is really close to $1,500, so you can actually just pretend all the dollar values in this special are modern-day dollar values in American money. Convenient. That being said, this girl Amanda is only 20 and obviously just got her first credit card.
Don't look at the price, really. If you love it, you love it. That's it. Get it. Don't have hesitations about it. Don't have second thoughts.
What, whack it on the card?
Yeah, and pay it off later. It's like a take-home lay-by.
Now, I understand that the whole point of this news report is to find someone who is terrible with money to be the spokesperson for why all millennials are bad, but in all fairness to the news organization that is probably trying to be bad faith in this report here, this is the mindset of way too many people, considering that debt is so rampant, and it seems like the majority of people don't understand that desire is infinite and resources are limited. No matter how much money you make, you can always desire something more expensive, so if you have the mindset that Amanda has, then you will always be broke.
Today, she's unleashing a brand new credit card. Limit $5,000. Wow.
Okay, so that framing from earlier of her spending $1,500 a week is a little dishonest. They made it seem like she does that every week, when in reality, if $5,000 is her credit card limit on the new card, then she's not wasting money on luxury items for very long, even if she pays them down as time goes on. But do you know it's not a waste of money? Reed Street Soap. Reed Street Soap always strives to bring you the best smelling soaps that have the best possible ingredients. My recommendations for the guys are the Blue Collar Scrub, the Day at the Beach, and the Woodshop soaps. For the girls, try the Bimbo Bar. Speaking of being frugal, I've been using these soaps for months now, and I swear they last forever. I don't even put it on one of those soap strainer things that preserve the bar, and each soap lasts like 4 to 6 weeks. And don't forget that Reed Street Soap also sells candles. We recently came out with this nice hot chocolate candle that actually smells like hot chocolate, which is perfect as a gift, or you can try the coffee candle. Just like the soaps, these candles last quite a while. So if you want to check out Reed Street Soap, then click on the first link in the description. Alright, one of the more disheartening things about modern society is just how much some people are willing to subject themselves to years of suffering in the future for a few bits of momentary pleasure, or because they are too lazy to investigate what they're putting their money towards or how things work, all without understanding one of the simplest parts of economics, which is that just because someone is willing to give you a loan for something doesn't mean you can afford it.
I can see myself in this. Hi, Pete! Whee! This is so exciting.
Amanda has only 22 cents in the bank, but she's preparing to buy a $60,000 car on credit.
So we have 20-year-old Amanda here, who is hell-bent on maxing out all her credit cards, and now she's buying a brand new $60,000 BMW, which don't have the greatest reputation for being long-lasting cars. Up until this point, considering that she has no expenses and makes $35,000 a year, provided that she doesn't lose her job, which you never know is going to happen, and that's why you don't take out a bunch of debt to purchase luxuries. So provided that she doesn't lose her job, and considering that her new credit card limit was only $5,000, she probably could easily pay off whatever credit card debt she has if she stops the shopping sprees. But now that she's added a car payment that is likely close to $1,200 a month, depending on how long her loan repayment plan is, she's kind of screwed, as that is close to half her monthly salary after taxes. That's $1,200 a month, including maintenance, which is expensive on a luxury car. You know how it's like $400 to change all your tires on a regular car? On a luxury car, it can be close to $400 per tire. That's just one of many things that needs to be maintained, so enjoy figuring out how to pay for stuff like that and your car payment. And don't forget insurance. This was such a stupid purchase for someone who makes $35,000 a year. Combined with minimum payments on her credit cards, she's quickly going to be working exclusively to pay off debt with very little progress. Congratulations, you made yourself a slave. And she'll likely have to work a second job to pay for that car, so have fun having no time to actually enjoy the things that you bought. Who's to blame for this? Obviously, someone else.
Are you saying you're a victim in all of this?
We are. We're targets. We are targets to the bank because we know that they know that we're gullible. They know that, anything they say will just follow. It's just they're the leader and we're just, the little people walking behind them. They give me money.
You're loving it. You could have sent the card back.
But I needed it. I need it for emergencies.
She does know that they're going to take the car if she declares bankruptcy like she said she would, right? She literally thinks that bankruptcy works like Michael from The Office thinks it works.
Bankruptcy, Michael, is nature's do-over. It's a fresh start. It's a clean slate.
Like the Witness Protection Program.
Exactly.
Not at all. I've always wanted to be in the Witness Protection Program. Fresh start. No debts, no baggage. I declare bankruptcy!
Not to mention that bankruptcy stays on your credit report for a long time, so good luck getting anyone to loan you money or getting things like an apartment. I know this is Australia, but I can't imagine that these laws are that different from the US, considering these credit card companies are global. But you might say, maybe a rich guy will save her. Sorry to break it to you, but most people marry into their own class, and rich guys aren't wifing Walmart cashiers left and right like certain influencers would have you believe. Any guy with money is going to look at her $80,000 to $100,000 of debt at 20 years old and just laugh. He would be an idiot to accept a girl with that large of a financial appetite with no means to pay it back. She spends her own money like it's nothing, so imagine what she would do with money that she didn't have to work for. Not to mention that the money doesn't just disappear when you claim bankruptcy. Banks are like casinos, and by that, I mean the house always wins. When people default on their credit cards and stuff, they just raise interest rates on all the people who actually pay back what they borrow, which puts a really negative spin on the morality of people like Amanda, who would openly have other people pay for her luxury items.
The world financial crisis is being caused by debt. Why does Gen Y keep spending?
Because it's just like having a car accident. You only stop driving irresponsibly after you've hit the wall.
This is one of those situations where I don't like anyone involved. Obviously, Amanda is being ridiculous, but what's even more ridiculous is 60 Minutes trying to use her anecdote to make millennials look guilty for the 2008 financial crisis, to which the vast majority of were either teenagers or barely old enough to drink when the foundation for that was laid. The banks and the government were the cause of the 2008 crisis, not idiots in their 20s who don't know how to balance a checkbook. But since we're talking about wealth here, it's not just dumb impulse purchases that keep people poor. It's also the minuscule amount of investigation that a lot of people do before making major life decisions. Which brings us to our next example, Emma.
I'll have a passion fruit mojito.
Emma Lovell is a full-time student. She'll finish uni with a business degree and $40,000 in the red. For students like her, debt is a way of life.
I mean, I didn't go to business school and I can tell you how to run a business. Find a product people want, sell the product. Easy. But what exactly is a business degree, and does it teach you something that's worth $40,000? Just doing a quick Google search here, all these categories are either things you can't really learn without personal experience, so teaching them in a school is worthless, or they are things that you can learn by spending 2 weeks reading a $10 book.
You dropped $150,000 on a fucking education you could have got for $1.50 in late charges at the public library.
It's not like you're legally required to have a degree to run a business, and you're better off learning these skills elsewhere. Marketing definitely can't be taught well without experience. That requires that you know your audience, and you can't know your audience unless you know what market you're in. You can't teach business management or project management in a classroom either. These are complex skills. Probably the only thing in this category that's useful is the accounting portion. That would likely produce the excess income to take care of a $40,000 loan in a reasonable amount of time. Also, don't forget the years of time that are wasted in college doing general education that you're not going to remember. Everyone seems to not notice that college forces you to burn like 2+ years of your life doing those useless courses. And companies would be stupid to exclusively hire people who are taught in a laboratory versus people who read books and have real-life experience. But maybe that's a part of the reason why things are so crappy right now.
How much are you guys in debt?
By the end of my degree, I'll have around $49,000 worth of fixed debt.
Around 26. Yeah, I'm almost finished and I've got about $20,000 wrapped up, so.
Again, you have years to process this. Before you took out that loan, did you ask, what's the time period that the job market I'm entering will allow me to pay this back? Honestly, especially considering that these are women who might want a family, if you can't pay back that college loan with a couple years of grinding after you exit school, then that degree isn't worth it. If your field of study isn't nurse, computer programmer, engineer, or something that typically has a high return on investment, then you should be doing those calculations before you enroll. You're a complete moron if you spend $60,000 on a gender studies degree when you can learn that dumb crap on YouTube for free. A lot of times you can just look up the course material, purchase the books on Audible, and listen to them on 1.5 times speed. You'll learn more information doing that in the same amount of time it would take you to just commute to school. Plus, these days, it couldn't be easier to determine if your degree is useless or not with resources like YouTube, Glassdoor, or Indeed. You can just look at the typical salaries of people in the job market that you want, and you can look at day-in-the-life videos of people who work in that industry to actually make sure that you like the field that you're spending 4 to 8 years training for. Or look up a company and see if you can shadow someone for a day. What's more shocking to me, and why I think schools are largely a scam, is because they don't have you do this career investigation stuff until your last semester. Yeah, so now that you've paid us tens of thousands of dollars for a degree that's useless, we're going to require a class that helps you realize that you're screwed when it comes to getting a job. They should be teaching you this stuff about the job market from day one, but of course they don't do that because then they wouldn't make as much money. So yeah, they're responsible for that. However, schools aren't going to start caring anytime soon, so the real responsibility is all on you. But when it comes to responsible decisions, it seems like our girl Emma here is allergic to them. In this next clip, she explains how she took out a loan so that she could travel.
I'll be going to South Africa, then to Tanzania and Nairobi, up to London, Scotland, quick visit over to Germany, fly over to Dallas for a stop.
How are you paying for it?
With this little beauty, my loan, which was for my car, and I've now refinanced it, so I've added on another $10,000.
So this $12,500 is absolutely money well borrowed.
Definitely.
Did you learn how to take on debt like that in business school? I'm sure all the successful businesses refinance loans they were almost done paying off to pay for vacations. Do you think that businesses that handle large sums of money who would hire a person with a degree would think it's a good idea to pay an extra 8 to 25% more for all their purchases because they were impatient? The debtor is slave to the lender. Emma, do you want to perpetually be a debt slave your whole life? Again, you better hope that you don't lose your job or get injured. The one thing that is great about not being in debt and building wealth is that you don't have to constantly worry about payments, and you can build things like a 3 to 6 month emergency fund so you aren't screwed if unexpected life events happen.
And I know that I'm going to be in debt later on in my life, so may as well learn to manage it now and use it for great things like this. You know, I don't think this is a waste at all.
I like how she frames going $10,000 more into debt so she can go on vacation as the responsible adult choice. I'm learning how to manage my debt. She does that instead of learning how to build wealth. You do understand that over a period of 20 to 30 years, the extra amount that you're paying in interest for these items adds up to a ton of money, right? Especially if you invest it properly, and especially considering that people can only invest money based on excess wealth, as in, once your bills are already paid, you invest from the pool of money that you have left. Those monthly payments and interest rates that you're paying can very easily kill the excess cash in your paycheck that would be used to build wealth, all because you couldn't be a little patient. More importantly, because you constantly have to worry about making payments, you can't do the kind of risk-taking that wealthy people do in order to increase their income. That's probably the biggest issue with everyone being in debt. People can't take a risk when they have interest and principal to pay off.
Why is Generation Y so ballsy about debt and confident that you can pay it off?
I know that I will be successful because I will make myself successful, because I know I have this debt. So it can be a driving factor. It's scary though. It really is. But unfortunately we need it. We need the money.
She read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and took that section about Kiyosaki intentionally putting himself under extreme financial stress a little too literally. I don't recommend it, but the caveat of Kiyosaki doing this as a way of pushing himself into making more money is that he already knew how to make money when he was gambling like that. Emma doesn't. She should have read the part where he tells people to learn business from practical experience, not by taking out a loan and going to school. Anyway, in the last segment, 60 Minutes goes over how much interest Emma and Amanda will pay in 20 years if their irresponsible spending habits continue. Emma is going to rack up $77,000 in interest by the time she's 40.
When you put in a lump sum like that, yeah, it's horrendous and it's scary, but that's what I've got to do to have a future.
She's willing to burn $77,000 in interest to have things now instead of a little bit later. Let me emphasize this again. The $77K is not the money that goes to the car or the vacation. That's just the interest. So she wants to work in business, yet she is okay with giving 77 grand of wealth to credit card companies. I didn't go to business school, so I'm not good enough at math to do the accounting on this, but if we're talking about the money on interest that she could have earned on $77,000 over a 15 to 20 year period, my guess is that she could have turned that money into $150,000 to $250,000 if it was invested properly. What an idiot. And with that mentality, nobody should hire you for a career in business. Next, they show Amanda, who in 20 years will have racked up $82,000 in interest if her bad spending habits continue.
Are you worried about the future now?
$82,000 is the price that I pay for being happy, for being able to indulge myself in all the luxury items that I've bought over the past 40 years. That's what it is.
It's worth it.
It is, it's worth it.
Honestly, it's been 15 years since this report, so she's close to 40 now, and if she didn't curb her spending habits, then she probably has paid more than $82K in interest. She has a shopping addiction, and addictions usually get worse over time. The only piece of hope here is that Amanda simply hasn't lived long enough to suffer the consequences of the mistakes she's made in the past. These purchasing habits were relatively new for her, so she might change her ways once all her paycheck starts going to debt and she can't shop anymore because her credit cards are maxed out. Ultimately, a lot of this stems from people not understanding how credit works. If they did, then they wouldn't make all these stupid purchases. I mean, in America, people probably can't even tell you how to calculate 20% of $1,250 without Googling it, so they aren't really actively aware of how percentages work or what it means when your interest is compounded daily. Nor do a lot of people know that only making the minimum payment on your debt will make it take an obscene amount of time to pay off. A small amount of credit card debt of a few $1,000s could take up to 10 years to pay off by doing that, whereas a bigger one can take over 20 years if you just make minimum payments. So you basically make no progress when you do minimum payments, and you can end up paying double to triple what you spent for the items. You can cut that down to a fraction if you do a minimum payment, plus the interest you were being charged when your debt was at its peak. If you do that, then a 20-year debt will take 3 years to pay off, and you'll only get charged like 30% of the original debt amount instead of 300%. So if you really don't have the income to pay for past mistakes right away, then at least try to make it so you aren't screwed as badly. And maybe just learn how to wait for things. Most of the big issues that I bring up on this channel are solved with a little patience. You can either have fun now and suffer intensely later, or you can suffer a little now and have a lot of fun in the future. Though really, it's surprising how many years of their lives people are willing to screw up for 1 year of overspending. So why do a crappy sightseeing trip to Europe when you're broke at 20, when you can just wait a couple of years and have way more fun in Europe after you have a good income? Instead of constantly focusing on what you don't have, learn how to enjoy the things you do have until you can afford better. Anyway, thanks for watching, follow me on Twitter, and I'll see you in the next video.